We're with Brandon Beard, the president of DuxxBak Composite Decking. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you for having me, Buckley. Appreciate it.
Good to see you. We can obviously see you're in Green Bay from all the regalia there.
We
Um,
are we are
why
in
don't you,
Green Bay.
why don't you tell us a little bit about your company and what you do?
Sure. So yeah, DuxxBak Composite Decking. We manufacture composite decking products. Our claim to fame and the reason for the name DuxxBak is we've got one product line, which is our DuxxBak deck, which is a water shedding deck profile, which is unique in our industry. It's kind of a one of a kind. It sets us apart from our competition. We're a smaller organization that's been around since 2009. I've got 30 total employees that work for us. We work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in the manufacturing side for the most part, and sell through distribution. And primarily the end user obviously are the homeowners or the large multifamily projects, things like that. But we sell through distribution all the way down the chain. And so, yeah, that's what we do here in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
That's really cool. So tell us, how'd you get hooked on AI?
Well, I've been a bit of a techie myself. I like being on the front end. I don't necessarily wait in line for the new iPhone to come out, but I'm always interested in new things. And I'm a statistician. I have a Six Sigma black belt, and so I'm always interested in data, in how you can process data. And when big data analytics programs like Power BI and Tableau came out, I was really kind of on the front end of that and self-taught myself. And I saw the power that was behind these kinds of softwares. And when I started hearing a little bit about Chat GPT was, I wouldn't say it was my first, you know, um, it wasn't the first time I heard about AI, but it was the first time that I went, I understand how this might be applicable and can be released to the consumers. And so I started with ChatGPT and I just got on the front end of it. I did what a lot of people did, which was get frustrated because I couldn't get on and it was always busy. And so I thought, I'm jumping in with full both feet. I'm going to get the subscription and start messing around. So it really was Chat GPT was kind of my first go at AI.
Was there anything in particular that really caused you to say, oh, I need to go do this, or just your general curiosity?
Yeah, I mean, I think the general curiosity and then my immediate reaction was how much different it was than Google, and how much different it was than the other things that are out there. Not only in the speed, but the way it responded to me was just mind blowing. And so I started getting real curious about, well, how do you query it? What do how do you prompt it? And once I kind of found out, well, holy smokes, you can ask it the same question, but if you prompt it ahead of time beforehand to act how you want it to act, you can get completely different results. And so that was to me, I mean, like I said, it just kind of blew my mind. And I thought, all right, now how do I incorporate this into my everyday life and in my career to make things easier?
So what are you using it for? You told me before that you use this almost every single day.
Yeah, I mean, I really do. I literally use it every day. For the most part, what I've done is I've created different prompts and so I have an HR where I will tell it, you are an HR professional. I'm going to ask you a series of questions and I want you to respond like an HR professional. And, of course, you take the response, if you know that it's still artificial intelligence and that it's not an actual HR professional giving you advice. But it really kind of gets the thought process rolling and it gives you really good feedback as to, all right, here's the situation I'm in, and it'll give you some feedback. And so to me, it's a really good thought starter for certain things that I'm just not an expert on. That is enough information to allow me to make a good decision. And then I'm, you know, again, kind of a statistician, operations minded. Um, so a lot of times I have a hard time getting what's in my head clearly to come out on a sheet of paper or clearly to come out on an email. And so Chat GPT has really helped me I can say it or type it rather in a manner in the way that I think, and ChatGPT does a really good job of articulating my thoughts and putting it in a manner that then I can compose a good email or a memo to my team or whatever it might be. And so that's how I use it like every day. I don't, a lot of people will say, is ChatGPT responding to all my emails and it's not personal? It's not a personal because I don't do that because I just, it's not good enough, frankly, right? I have a personality behind my email and ChatGPT doesn't, but it gives me enough that I can then put my personality behind it. Um, so, so that's how I use it. It helps me with business planning. It helps me with creating agendas for meetings. It helps me, um, with software that I'm not familiar with. So Salesforce, as an example, is a software that we use. I'm not super familiar with it. Yesterday, we have case files where one of my employees had said, "Boy, really, really nice if there was a field that said, how old is this case?" Well, I'm sure Salesforce can figure that out. I go to ChatGPT. I have a Salesforce prompt that says, "You are a Salesforce, professional," and I will ask it. I have a case file. I want to provide me the formula and the step-by-step process in order to make this happen. And it, of course, in a matter of seconds, spits it out. And this is during a Teams meeting. And so while we're having a Teams meeting, it was probably 10 minutes later. I said, "All right, I've updated it. Check your update the case file and you'll see it in there." That would have taken me a phone call to somebody, a help desk request. That would have taken me 3 days and a bunch of money and a bunch of resources. It literally took me 10 minutes and we had exactly what we wanted. That's a real case scenario that happened yesterday that saved us a lot of time. It provided somebody with a tool that they had requested, and we did it before the meeting was even over.
Push that thread a little farther. You've talked about the positive things. Have there been times when you've either run into a brick wall because Chat GPT told you, "No, I'm not going to do that," or where they just tried to please you so much that they gave you an answer that was totally wacko?
Well, that's the importance of the prompt is in understanding how to prompt it and that it requires a prompt. Is there are times where it will tell me I'm not going to provide you that answer. So there has been a time where I've asked it something and it said, "Yeah, I'm not going to give you that answer because I'm not a human resource um, advisor," or something to that effect. And then I went to the human resource one, asked it the exact same question, and it answered it for me. And so if you tell it what you want it to do or what you want it to be, it will respond appropriately. And so I haven't seen that. I've introduced it to my employees, and I have seen where I've had to address sometimes where it's just like, "All right, don't copy and paste. This is what your email said." And they'll go, "Oh, yeah, I didn't really proofread it." I was like, "I can tell you didn't proofread it." And so, yeah, I mean, you really have to take it for what it's worth and know that it's a tool, and it just can't replace the human interaction and the human brain to figure out, decipher what actually needs to be put in something. So
You've described a lot of, back office operations. Have you thought at all about using it in the operation on the floor? What would cause you to do that?
I came into this organization 2 years ago, and we have you know a lot of we have a lot of tenured employees, and those tenured employees know everything there is to know about pushing the buttons and how do you troubleshoot, and they can hear something and they'll know exactly what to do. But we're upscaling pretty fast. We've just been part of the top 25 fastest growing companies in Northeast Wisconsin. And so with that comes growth, new employees. And so what we struggled with is, well, how do you get new employees trained faster? And what we found is, well, we have SOPs, we have binders, but they're just that. They are binders. Uh, and we have a shared drive, like most companies have a shared drive, and it's impossible to find things. And so what we're exploring now is, I understand my employees no different than anybody else. If I have a sink or that's clogged at home, I go to Google or I go to YouTube or I go to some other form and I try to find that answer and I want to find it quickly. I don't want to thumb through. I don't go to the user manual on my refrigerator and look through that. I don't. Nobody does. And so, but yet that's kind of what we expect our employees to do is, right? Hey, there's a bunch of binders in a supervisor's office. Go to those binders and thumb through it. Well, that's not our natural tendency anymore. And so what I think Chat GPT or what AI can do for us is take that information, put it into the database, and let the operators query it like they're used to querying everything else, that all the problems that they have at home. And so what we're thinking is it becomes a training tool, it becomes a troubleshooting tool. It can is if we have other data that we put into it, which we have plenty of, it will do a much better job deciphering and getting things to bubble up to the top. If you tell it, analyze this information and give me the top 5 things that I should be aware about in 15 seconds, it's done. Where if I were to give that to an employee and go, hey, I want the top 5 things that you've dissected out of this information, I might get it days later, weeks later, who knows, based on how complex the information is. So, um, yeah, I mean that's how I see a very small company with very little resources. I wear the IT hat here. I if the network goes down, I'm the guy who goes into the network closet and tries to figure out why our server's down. So we wear a lot of hats, and that is an easy way for a company with not a lot of resources to utilize AI with very little cost, very little resources, but have a huge return on investment, a huge impact to the organization, and get your team to huddle around it. And it makes us look more high tech than we might be.
Yeah, yeah. So you and I had a really unique experience last week, and I think the people who watched the first video of this series saw the Chat GPT engine that Anno and Danny created that was actually for your business.
It
How did
was.
how did you react when you saw that first?
My first reaction was I got to see them actually create it. So my first reaction was, number one, I didn't realize I could do that in Chat GPT. So my first reaction was, wow, that just gave me a whole new rabbit hole to go down, that I can be using this in a different manner. So that was kind of my first reaction. I didn't realize how easily you could implement your own information. And then the second was, all right, well, what do I do with this? Now that I have this, what do I do with it? So I started thinking about our users and our customers. And I thought, well, what are questions that they would ask on a frequently asked questions page? And would it give me the same information that we have on a frequently asked questions page? So I started using it to start querying things. And what I found, again, very quickly was that we had the right things on our webpage. Now, are they easy to find? That might be debatable, right? But at least what I knew was the content on our webpage was the right content, because when I queried it, things that people call us about or things that people ask about, it was there and it was accurate and it was up to date. And so I found that to be extremely kind of an interesting tool. And then I think it could potentially take us to that next level again, where people, I don't like going to a frequently asked questions page, but if we had an opportunity where somebody could just query it like a Chat GPT, get the information they want and move on, that could be a nice addition to, again, a company that's just small and doesn't have the resources like big companies do. So yeah, to me, it was incredible on, uh, the other thing I asked it was, based off of the website, give me a 30-second audio radio ad, that a script for a radio ad, and it nailed it. The script of the radio ad, we had just met with some Lowe's executives and we spent a lot of time on this PowerPoint presentation, and the radio ad hit our highlights. And I was like, well, that's interesting. And again, it was a very easy way for me to kind of get a good feeling that our website has the right information on it.
So you saw this. I mean, were you impressed with it? Did it say what you wanted it to say? I mean, what was it, the kind of tone you would want coming out? Was it in your voice?
Um, I think for the I would say no. The short answer is no. I don't think it because it comes out very technical and um very proper and almost too robotic. I mean, you can kind of tell when things, and that's, I mean, that is again why I have found that you can't copy and paste. I've tried to get it to, I will take an email as an example and I'll post it back to ChatGPT and I'll say, this is the final rendition of the email that I actually sent. Use this to learn my style. And it says, okay, great, I will do that. And over time, it tends to start to wean off a little bit and it'll go right back to kind of that very robotic sounding response. Um, but still impressed with the information is almost always spot on, almost always spot on.
Has it prompted any thoughts to put this on your website and make it live?
Yeah, I mean, it has. One of the things that's unique about our product is, like I said, it's a one of a kind product where a lot of deck builders will say, I've been building decks my whole life, and I don't need to read the instruction manual. Well, ours is different. Number one, it goes away from the house because you don't want most decks are going parallel to the house. And in our case, you want the water running away from the house, and so you're running it perpendicular. And so we have instruction guides and the instruction manuals, like most instruction manuals, are written for engineers and they take a while to read and it's beginning to end. So we did think about what are the key things and so I have actually put the PDF into Chat GPT, and right now what we're using it for is we're really challenging it to say, could this be our technical guide for any contractor where they don't have to read the entire manual, the instruction manual? Um, and then we have very common questions. What do I do about a post? I've got a post, and how do I make sure that it's watertight around the post? And you have to kind of go through different sections in our manual to find that. And so, yeah, what we're thinking is that could be a very useful tool. The other thing we're thinking is, could we have it closed circuit where we have, like I said, our distribution network is we sell to our distributor. Our distributor will sell to a dealer, right, to an 84 Lumber or your local Ace True Value. That's what we would consider a dealer, somebody with a storefront. And they often have turnover or, they sell 1,000 different products and ours just happens to be one of them. Is could they have something where they could go to find answers that the general public, we wouldn't necessarily wouldn't have that information, but they could. So could we create a page where our customers or our dealers could log into and then get information that way a little bit easier? And it's not too, we still love the personal touch. We consider ourselves a customer service company that just happens to make a fantastic decking product, but we really pride ourselves on our customer service. So it's not to take that away. If people want to call us and talk to us, great. But we also know there's a certain demographic out there that doesn't want that. They want a quick answer. They may have a customer sitting on the other end of the aisle or the other end of the counter, and they don't have time to pick up the phone, but they still want that response. So we're thinking about it in that manner too, is that adds to the customer service experience versus taking it away.
So outside of this, let's take this out. What's the most creative, interesting, jaw-dropping thing that you've done through Chat GPT?
I've tried to have it come up with different money making plans, for like my kids. And hey, I have $40. If you had $40 and you needed to have a return of $200 in a matter of a week, what would you do with that $40? It's interesting to see what it comes back with. And we haven't implemented any of those things, but there's been plenty of ideas where I could tell my children, my teenage um, girls who think money's, no object and they can just buy whatever they want to buy.
Yeah.
If they were to implement some of those strategies, they would work. They would definitely work. And so I thought that was kind of interesting.
So a big word in that sentence, which is if. So
Yeah, yeah.
So if we come back to you a year from now and have the same conversation, what's going to be different? Where will you have been using AI more aggressively?
Um, I think I'll roll it out to my team probably more than I do now. I'm still, in the phase where I'm the majority user for the most part on it. And then I think the it'll be an add-on to a lot of the other tools. So right now, as an example, I have an AI tool that I use for our meetings. And so it takes notes, it provides feedback on the notes or on the meeting. It will actually send me an email the day before or before another meeting that says, hey, this is a reoccurring meeting, and these were the action items from the last meeting that you had to prepare yourself for this meeting. I find that to be extremely helpful. And so I see us rolling that through the rest of the organization. And then I know we just got access to, Microsoft just came out with I'm trying to blank on the name of their AI add-on that Microsoft has. I forget what the name of it is, but they just rolled that out, I believe, this week. And so I've already subscribed to that. So I'll see how that incorporates into Excel, Word, PowerPoint, all of the tools that my team is already using for the most part. And then probably more importantly will be the maintenance team is how do we take data that we're already collecting that is very difficult to analyze and to sift through, right? That
Yeah.
machine type data, process
Yeah.
type data, and how do we incorporate AI to predict failures to um, are there better processing conditions? Do things run better? So I think that will be another arena that will have a really big ROI that without it, it's a heavy lift and a really specific skill set, and oftentimes a very expensive skill set. If you have somebody who understands maintenance in that field, but then also understands the data, but then also understands how to articulate, it's a bit of a unicorn and it's going to be expensive. And so that's how I kind of see AI filling that role of helping my maintenance team just analyze information better than we do today.
So you have a lot of really good ideas there. What are the resources you think you're going to need to help you get that plan implemented?
Well, I think, the gentleman that you had on earlier in the video previous to this is a good start. Is I think for me, the big learning from that was it's not as complex as you think. So I often oversimplify software. And so if I want to report, as an example, right, in my previous roles, it was this is what I know the system has this. This is the information I want, and I can't wait to get that report by the end of the day. And the report writers are going, it's not that simple. There's tables and connections and all kinds of things that have to happen. And I'm going, it can't be that hard. I'll take it by the end of the day. Um, and so I think that uh, that is AI is going to make that simpler so that a user can use their own data. So I think to me, that's one uh, important resource are the schools or is there somebody that you can just go to learn and understand that it's not that complex. You don't have to be a code writer. You don't have to do certain things. You don't have to have that level in order to implement things into your own business. To me, that's kind of a big step forward, or it will be for a lot of companies. I think they're intimidated by it,
Yeah.
and I'm not an expert in this field by any stretch of the imagination. And I've proven it can be very effective in a small organization with just, rolling up your sleeves and trying to figure it out.
So Brandon, that's really good. And now, if I'm one of those guys who's sitting there and thinking about getting in the pool, what would you suggest to me as a tip or two to make my swim a lot more comfortable?
First thing I would tell you is to learn how to prompt, learn what prompting is and learn how to prompt the system because the prompt is just it's important to getting the answers that you want. So a good example of that is I was using a different AI software the other day. It was not giving me what I wanted it to give me. Went back into Chat GPT and I asked it, write me a prompt for this software to do X, Y, and Z. Dumped that into that other software, and it gave me exactly what I was looking for. And so it needed a different prompt. So that would be the first thing. Uh, Prompting is not complex. You can Google it. You can actually ask Chat GPT what prompts should I use to get these kinds of responses. So that'd be first things first is if you just go in and ask it questions, you're not going to maximize the output of the system. So learn how to prompt. And a prompt is literally I want you to act as. I mean, that could be, I want you to act as, and I want you to respond with. That's a prompt. I want you to act as an NBA basketball coach, and I want you to provide me with a game plan that's going to beat a team of 6'5" individuals, and my team is 5'2", and it'll give you an answer. Your team's 5'2", and these right. Learn how to shoot outside. It'll say something like that. Learn how to shoot. Give up rebounds in fast break a lot. That's what it'll tell you. So one is prompt. And then the other is, like I tell people, it's a lot like Excel. It can be extremely daunting. And if you try to use everything, you're going to get confused. You're going to get stressed out. So start simple. Start with simple prompts, simple formulas, and kind of work your way up to more complex things versus trying to make it do something that is extremely complex. You didn't give it the right prompt, and you're going to go, this thing is junk. This doesn't do what I want it to do. Start simple. Or, like I said, Excel users it can either be the greatest tool you've ever used, or it can be the most stressful tool you've ever used, and you'll go back to a calculator. Well,
Or both. It can be
yeah,
both.
yeah, it can absolutely be both. And so that, it's not going away. It's
Yeah.
not going away. And
Well,
so
I like that parallel to Excel because yeah, it can be really daunting when you start thinking about how powerful this tool is and where it can go. But at the same time, if you keep it simple, it leads you down a very easy path to follow.
yeah. Well, the other thing I would say too is, I've got, um, you know, our CEO as an example, and I think a lot of people can be skeptical as well, right? It's like, oh boy, what are you messing around with that for? We've got things to do. Stop messing around with AI. And so using it in a manner that shows value very quickly, that's another important thing is find something that adds value to your business. Because if you don't, you are messing around, right? You're just playing. You're making it write emails for you and you're just playing. So don't I would just advise people don't do that. Have it perform a task that provides value to you. So I paid the initial prescription of I don't know, it was $20 a month or something to get to that premium level, right? I would pay $200 easily because it provides way more than $200 worth of value to me. And so that would be the other thing is make it do things that add value to your everyday life. Don't just, start by having fun, but then find a way that it can provide value without going off the deep end and finding you know, the most complex part of your process. Don't do that.
So I'm going to torture my analogy a little bit. So I'm in swimming. Are there any sharks in the pool? Any things that I should be aware of?
There's things that I am a little bit concerned about, which is getting lazy, right? Not being sharp. There are times where I feel like if I lean on it too much, and I don't know if this has happened yet, but it certainly has crossed my mind is, man, am I getting lazy? Am I exercising the way that I should be exercising my brain is there something to be said about just this tool doing some thinking for you? So, I mean, that's one of the sharks in the waters. I don't know the outcome of that. I don't know the outcome of that yet.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody knows what that looks like. But so I do, kind of caution myself on, all right, think this one through, put Chat GPT away, think this one through, because you got to exercise that muscle a little bit. So that would be one. And then check your work. It's not 100% accurate. It has a disclaimer on the bottom of the screen for a reason. Check your work. It doesn't always give you the right answer. So that would be another shark in the water.
Yeah. So this has been a great conversation. And we've covered a lot of topics, but just going through this whole thing, if there was one thing that you want us to take away from this conversation, what would it be?
Use it, use it, learn it, use it. Um, like I said, it's not going away. I think too many people have gotten caught up, or got caught on the back end of these technological tidal waves, right? And they've been rolled over by them. And I would say it's not going away. Find a way to incorporate it into your business, plans, because um, that's what's going to get at least the Wisconsin manufacturers to the next level. And I think if you ignore it, it's gonna steamroll you. Somebody else is gonna use it. And I don't care if you're a small organization with 30 employees like myself or the largest organization with 3,000 employees. Um, Figure out a way to use it. Learn more about it because it's not going away.
Brandon Beard of DuxxBak Composite Decking, Presidente. Thank you very much. It's been a great conversation. Appreciate your contribution.
Thank you, Buckley. I appreciate it as well. Thank you.